Welcome, everybody. It is Fantasy and Frames Wednesday. This is Dynasty 365. I'm your host, Stacey Perez. He is Tyler Howell. Guys, we have got an awesome guest here for you tonight. Miss Wendi Earley is here to tell us all about her trip to the Combine this past weekend. Let's go. Welcome,
hey, that's some banging music, you guys.
Right. I love our music.
I wasn't expecting that. I like it.
Yeah, I do a little dance here while it's up.
I was too.
Psyched up.
Always sets the mood.
It does. We gotta get everybody hyped here. Wednesday night, 8:00, Dynasty 365. Guys, she is Wendi Earley. She is coming to us today to talk to us about her experience at the Combine. If you're not already following her, make sure that you go on and do that right now. If you're watching live, it's at Wendi with an I, Early. And if you're listening, you can please make sure to find her there on the Twitter. Wendi, how are you doing?
I'm still coming down from the high of the weekend, let me tell you. It was a lot.
That seems like it would be like a really overwhelming but really amazing experience.
You're pretty much nailing it right there, because it really, I did not know what to expect, to be honest, Stacey. It was, I've never done anything like that before, so I'm actually very glad that I did, and I can't wait to share it with you.
Yes. Well, I see a bunch of our friends over here in the chat. What's up, JC and Dame and Angie and Calvin and Chris? Guys, if you are following along with us tonight in the chat, please make sure to go on in, say hello. If you have any Dynasty questions, any trades, you can throw it in there too. Happy to get to those. We're going to talk about some Dynasty stuff a little bit later, but tonight we are going to kick it off talking about the Combine this past weekend, all the cool things that Wendi got to do and see in her experience. Hello, Mr. Scampers. It has been a long time no see, my friend. I'm glad to see you guys here in the chat. Wendi, tell us how so you went and covered the Combine for Women in Fantasy Football, right?
Yep.
Okay, so tell us how did that happen? How did that come about?
Well, I know I've seen you in the chats before, the ones that Rachel hosts for the Unwind, yes. And they had given the Super Bowl media passes, and they were talking about that, and I'm like, hey, I live in Indiana, so I'm like, what about the Combine? I mean, I know what it is, I know where it's at, I know a little bit about it. I don't follow college football, I'm not gonna lie. I don't, but yeah. So I was kind of like, hey, if you guys, if you get those, and you have an extra one, of course, I don't want to take one away from like somebody that probably deserves it, but I was like, hey, if you have an extra one, that'd be great. I'd be happy to go down there. And so, Kelly's like, yeah, reach out to Josh, and by the way, Kelly frickin' Singh is a rock star. Okay. Yeah, she was so helpful. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I did reach out to Josh, and he's like, well, we've had a lot of, interest, especially with, everybody sees that we have the Super Bowl passes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I totally get it. Just put me on the list. If it makes its way to me, let me know. Yeah. So a couple weeks later, Josh is like, hey, what are you doing next week? And I'm like, I don't know, what am I doing next week? And he's like, I've got these passes. And I'm like, okay. I said, let me check with my work. I didn't know if I was going to, I would need to switch my schedule around. And it's a small business. So it's like, if I'm not there, the place falls apart. Okay. I'm not going to lie. If I'm not there, the place falls apart. So I'm like, well, I'll work my day off, blah, 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 blah. So I get to work the next day. I approach my boss, and they're looking at the calendar. They're like, you have court that day. And I'm like, oh no, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah, there's court at like 11 o'clock. They're an hour ahead of us in India. I'm like, well, the worst case scenario, if I had to go to court, and I'm the plaintiff, by the way, I'm not the defendant. All right. I'm the plaintiff.
We don't drive either. We don't, I didn't know if you have like a traffic ticket, you had to go to court, or maybe nefarious.
I was terrified. I was surrounded by female lawyers, and you got me really nervous.
No, I'm not that smart. I'm not as smart as Stacey. So I was just like, First of all, it was for an eviction, okay? And nobody feels sorry for this guy. He is the worst tenant in the world. The neighbor, he's terrible. Don't feel sorry, okay? I'm telling you, I'm a really good landlord. You get a lot of chances with me. You can stay as long as you pay me and follow the rules. I don't care. You can stay. Well, he wasn't doing either, okay? So, but the funny thing is he had continued that court date. So I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy's going to mess up something that I could have the opportunity to do. First of all, you've already made me go to court like 4 times over this.
Oh,
So I like behind my boss's back, I went into my office and I emailed the attorney. I'm like, hey, is there any way we can continue it without me getting in trouble? And he's like, yeah, so I went back to my boss. They said, hey, I can continue this court date as long as you guys are okay with it. They knew how important this was to me. I mean, I wanted to go to the combine anyways, but found out I could have the media credentials. That like changes everything. Okay. Trust me when I tell you this thing right here is like the fast pass at Disney World.
Yes.
Okay? It gets you in everywhere, so you get to carry a backpack. No one else does. Like I was super special,
So you bring in all your own like little goodies.
Yes, you can. Yeah, it's you go in a totally different entrance and everything. So luckily, I was able to flip flop things around. Thank you to my bosses because they made that be able to happen for me. So the funny thing is, I have friends that live down there because, like I said, I'm from Indiana. It's like a 2-hour drive for me. So I had reached out to my friend because she's like, don't try and get a hotel because you're going to pay a lot of money if you can even get one anywhere close to where you're going to be at this point.
Right.
She goes, just stay with me. And she's like 20 minutes away. And I'm like, yeah, so not only that, so I didn't have to pay for a hotel. Not only that, like 4 of our classmates that we graduated from high school with all live within 5 minutes from her. So she got everybody together and we all had breakfast in the morning. It's like a little mini class reunion, so it was just a win-win all around. So that's how I got to represent women in fantasy football.
That's amazing. I mean, just like what a cool experience. I mean, like once you figured out you were going and got it all sorted out, like what was the thing that you were most looking forward to?
Not passing out. I just like I was so scared. Like I didn't know anything. So that's when I reached out to Kelly. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, what do I need to do? I want to go in. I wanted to do a good job for them. Yeah. I didn't want to go in, without the proper equipment or, knowing the things that I could or couldn't say or, the things that I should have with me. And between Kelly and Dustin, David, and Tristan, they're from Dynasty Nerds. They all took care of me all weekend. Those 3 guys were there, and they took care of me all weekend. But, I wanted to see the whole process. Mm-hmm. And I will say that it is a big deal. It is a big deal. Like I walked in there, of course, I already have AFib. Okay. I don't need my heart to be beating any faster. All right. But I'm like, I was just like so nervous and stuff, but everybody's doing their own thing. So, but I would say the thing I looked most forward to was like, how does this whole process work? So when I walked in, you see the media room and you see the Sirius XM and all the radio things are all set up and it's changed a lot. Stefan Bell, who's now my good friend. We're going to talk about that later too.
Underneath your name there.
Might have to add one, but just seeing all of that, all the radio things, and Stefania had mentioned that has grown so much. Mm-hmm. When you go around the corner, you got all these podiums and all these big studio setups and they're doing interviews. And I'm like, first of all, what am I doing here? Like I was just like so lost, but it just kind of almost came natural, I guess. I don't know. But I will say that the city of Indianapolis and the Indianapolis Colts do that thing upright. I mean, everything is top notch. Indianapolis is a really cool little city anyways, if you've ever been there. I don't know, but everybody complains, they got too many roundabouts. Oh my God, roundabouts are like the best thing since sliced bread. Are you kidding me? And everything's within walking distance downtown. So, you just put your backpack on and, you can go grab something to eat or, whatever. But it was really more than I expected, to be honest.
Yeah. What I mean, because like I like what you mentioned, like saying the wrong thing or something like that. I think that's what I would be most nervous about. I mean, like what was going through your mind? What were you trying not to do or make an effort to stay away from?
Well, everybody asks the same questions to these guys over and over. I mean, it's the same question. So you kind of want to get a little bit out of the box, but
Mhm.
obviously not too far out of the box. I
Like
think
our
you
first
have to.
rule.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I was just really nervous. And first of all, I hate seeing myself on camera and or hearing my voice. So it's like I would do this. I would ask the question. I'm like, oh my god, I got to go listen to it before I post it. I'm like, oh no, God, that's terrible. But it is what it is. It's the best. I did the best to my ability, and it was just a whole great experience.
Who all did you get to ask questions to?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I know the biggest one. Jonathan Brooks
Yeah. Uh-huh.
from Tennessee. He
Yep.
was so nice. Like and he gave a great answer. And I mean, I'm going to say I tried to stay away from the big stage. Because if you want to talk to Caleb Williams, you're going to have to hurt somebody to get up there. Okay, I'm not willing to do that.
You can do that. Sharpen those
I,
elbows. Get in there.
I know. I thought about, what happened, Stacy? This is so funny. So I was trying to reach my friend David, and he was like, "Hey, I'm next to the blonde girl. I'm up at the Caleb Williams thing," and I knew I wasn't going to stay up there, so I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to come and see you." And I went to go tap him on the shoulder, and I hit this guy with my backpack. I felt so bad. I never made eye contact. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that." And I'm not staying. I'm not taking cuts. I'm just going to say hi to my friend, and I'm going to hit the road. And he's like, "Okay, no problem." So on the way out, I hit the same guy, Stacy. Okay, I hit the same guy with my backpack. Are you kidding me? And like I said, I didn't make eye contact because I was just so embarrassed and was trying to get out of there. So a little while later, my friend David, who I had gone to tap on the shoulder, he goes, "You know who you ran into?" I go, "No, what are
Oh my
you
gosh.
talking about?" He goes, "That was Reggie Wayne."
Stop it. No. Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
"No,
That's
you're
awesome.
I'm like, and of course, if I would have known it was because I didn't make eye contact because
I would have
I didn't want to
freaked out if I accidentally ran into Reggie Wayne. Oh my god.
twice. I did it twice. I'm a
Holy
winner.
guacamole. Yeah, I really would have. I was a huge Colts fan back in his day. I would have lost my mind. I would have said something ridiculous, I'm sure.
Well, and another, and people are walking around. Sometimes you don't know who they are, especially some of the
Yeah.
players that are, older, retired. They don't look the
Yeah.
same. They're not in a
Oh,
uniform and they're
oh,
older. And,
I have
so
never
sometimes,
noticed that.
yeah, you don't know. So, but I was sitting in the media section because you know why? Because I had
Social
this.
media. That's
Okay.
right.
So I got to go sit in this media section. I had a whole row to myself. It was really great. So, one of my friends, Dustin, he's like, "Hey, weren't you looking for Marvin Harrison earlier?" Because he was at the podium
Like
thing and I
junior
never saw
or
him.
senior?
No, the dad, Marvin
Okay,
Harrison.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I was kind of hoping I'd see him. He's like, "Turn around." So I turn around. Guess who's behind me? I'm literally like he's standing up though. And I'm like, "Do you just go up to him? I don't know these things. Is he going to get mad or?"
Yeah,
And
what's
he's
the
like,
etiquette?
he's like, "Go ahead and ask." I mean, the worst he can do is say no. I mean, I didn't interview him. I was like, "Hey, I'm a big fan," because I was a big fan. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Would you mind if I got a quick picture?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I mean, super nice. And his friend that he was talking to, I handed him my phone. He took a picture for us because I'm so terrible at selfies. I'm like, "No, it can't be a selfie because I get one chance at this. So I got to do that too. And Laura Rutledge from ESPN. I had like my backpack. I'm telling you guys, it is a lot of work. Like I was tired. And I'm like, okay, I'm a lot older than you guys too. Okay, give me
Stop
that
it.
much. So
No.
ESPN had this stage and there was no one there except she was sitting there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Do you mind if I set my, bag down? I'm not staying. I just, I got to get this off. I got to get a couple things." She's like, "Girl, sit down. It's fine. You
Oh.
take your time. You do she was so nice. So of course I'm like, "Well, can we get a picture?" And she did. And she was so beautiful and just so kind and, talking to everyone that came up to her. And it was kind of like nobody was really off limits per se.
Yeah.
I mean, they might not have been able to spend a lot of time with you. And of course I didn't expect that. If you could just, "Hey, how you doing?" If maybe you get to ask them a question, on camera, that's great. If not, that's okay too. So, Bo Nix. Like I was waiting for him and waiting for him and waiting for him, and that his PR guy. He comes up to me. He goes, "I'm really sorry, but I have to take him." And I'm like, "Oh no, just one question, please. I've been waiting. I've been waiting so patiently and nicely. I didn't hit anybody or anything, And he's like, "I can't." Yeah, he felt really bad. He's like, "I got to take him. I'm sorry." I'm like, "Okay." What are you gonna do? You don't be a jerk about it. So
yeah. Next year, you're gonna have to, because you're so tall. You're gonna have to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, I know. I was a little intimidated, but
I don't think I would be too. I would get I think I would just get very introverted and into my own little, shell. I think I would just be afraid to talk to people.
It's so, there's just so much going on, and they're very much on schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I kind of wanted to share with people. I'm like, hey, I didn't know this, like 8:10 to 8:30. That's it. I mean, and they're yanking the guys off the stage and bringing in the new ones and, putting their names up. So, because I didn't know who all these guys were. I didn't. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, but I prepared pretty well. Like I had note cards, old fashioned stuff. Okay, Stacy and Tyler. I made index cards. And you know what? I put them in my back pocket.
For him.
It was so much easier than I'm not going to sit there and jack with my phone. And, so I'm just like, oh, yeah, I know who that guy is. And then I would just make my little stuff. And it's just the way it worked for me.
Man, I think it would have been difficult too, just trying to pick everybody out and, knowing who was who. That would have been tough. Man.
You got to meet so many cool people. And the one I'm most jealous of is Laura Rutledge, of course.
Oh man, she was strikingly beautiful. I mean, and just nice. That's the best part about it is, she was actually who she is that you see on TV.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like who? Okay, so we talked about it like a few people, but like, was there anybody else that you were really surprised that you got to meet, or just somebody that you hadn't really expected?
Well, I don't think it's not someone that I didn't expect. And this question kind of goes into what was also my favorite moment of the combine. Okay. So these things kind of go hand in hand. Wow. And it would be Stefania Bell.
Yes.
And, you were in the chat before. She's hopped in there. And the first time she came in there, I was fangirling so badly. I'm like looking down there and I'm like, does anybody realize that Stefania Bell's here? I mean, I was like,
it was a joke at first when I saw her name pop up. I was like, that's funny. Somebody's pretending to be Stefania Bell.
So she knew what I looked like. It wasn't like a shock or anything, So I'm like, if I see her, I'm going to meet her. I am going to make sure that I'm going to meet her. I'm going to go introduce myself. She was one person that I was like, man, I can't wait. Well, of course, she was there. So I kind of saw her and I was like, I'm just going to go up to her. And I'm like, hi, Stefania, I'm Wendi. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. And, so we chit-chatted just for a couple minutes there. And I said, hey, I know you're so busy because I'm telling you, that woman is constantly busy.
Oh,
she was there meeting with, all the team's medical staffs and being at all these meetings. And, it's that the combine is a big deal for her. So I said, I understand if you say no, I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to be upset, but I'm going to ask, is there any way maybe we could sit down and maybe chit chat for a little while? Maybe let me ask you a couple questions, nothing crazy. She's like, yeah, that's no problem. And she goes, here's my phone number. Just text me later. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
So when
someone asks you who's the most famous person you have on your phone, are you going to say Stefania Bell?
Hell yeah! Yes, I am. And I'm like looking around for like, is this candid camera? I mean, are you really giving me your phone number? Are you serious? So, and I told her, I go, I'm not a stalker. Really, I'm not. And she started laughing. Don't talk to Bob Harris, but I'm not a stalker. Okay. So, she's like, hey, between 11 and 12, send me something. We'll try and figure something out. And I'm like, all right, perfect. Well, at 11 o'clock, I'm sitting there, and Dustin and the other guys, Dustin and the three guys I was hanging out with, they wanted to go have lunch. And I'm like, you know what? I ain't going no damn where until I talk to Stefania Bell. I don't ever need to eat the rest of the day. If I have to wait for her, if she's going to be willing to sit down and talk to me, I don't need to eat. You guys can hit the road, no problem. They're like, no, ma'am, we're going to wait for you. We will wait for you, and you need to go see her as soon as you're able to. We will wait here. We'll hold your stuff for you. Don't worry about it. So I texted her. It took her a little while. I know she was busy, probably half hour. And she texted me, and she's like, hey, I'm at the JW. And I'm like, what the hell's the JW? I don't know. It's the Marriott, I guess.
The Marriott.
So Marriott over here.
I'm asking the guys, I'm like, what's the JW? You know, and they're like, oh, it's a Marriott across the street. She's like, I'm at Starbucks, and if you want to come over, I'm relaxing a little bit, and we can talk. And I'm like, all right. You ain't never seen somebody Forrest Gump out of there so fast. Okay, that little meme was Wendi. Okay, I'm like, I gotta go. I told the guys, I'm like, hold my stuff. If you gotta go to lunch, take my stuff with you. I'll meet you later. We have each other's phone numbers. So I huffed it over there. Let me tell you guys something. She sat and talked to me for an hour.
Stop.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seriously gonna cry about it because it was. I mean, and I didn't, I was just listening because I was like a kid listening to their great grandfather's war stories or something. You know what I mean? I was just on the floor like, because it was so incredible. And she was just telling, how she got into things and, things that go on behind the scenes, just stuff that I was mesmerized. I didn't want to leave, I really didn't want to leave, but I knew she was busy. She'd have to check her phone and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, take your time, girl. I'm sitting here with Stefania Bell. I don't care. Right. People would come up and, say hi. So she'd introduce me. I mean, I felt like a rock star by her, it was amazing. And she's like, it's really loud here. She goes, why don't we go down the hallway and, try and find a place to sit down. And that's when I got the opportunity. I only asked her like 3 questions because she had already spent so much time with me that I felt like, I didn't want to I want her to talk to me again. Okay. Yeah. So I was just like, we had a great thing. And then my buddy Hoove, he took care of doing all of the graphics and stuff so we could post these for Women of Fantasy Football. And hey, it's hot off the presses. There's one more that's going to get released.
Ooh, you heard it here first, guys.
Right. Yep. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
So that was definitely the highlight and the most famous person that I met there. So.
That's amazing. Like, I just, oh gosh, I don't know that I think I would get all tongue tied and feel so nervous. Like,
oh, I was.
Those videos are so good. Like, Wendy, you did a great job. You should just feel so proud of yourself.
I did the kind of content that I do. Okay. I'm not like you guys. I don't, your Raz thing, whatever you were talking about, I don't even know what you were talking about. It's like
no one knows what the Raz is, Wendy. That's the moral of the story is that no one knows what the Raz is.
Is that what I don't even know if that's what it's called. Whatever.
Yeah, the Raz score.
Yeah.
It's not Riz. It's not Riz score. Although they should have that, and I feel like that would be much better content.
Yeah, Sam Hartman would have a perfect score.
Wendy.
Is that the guy with the hair?
Yes.
Okay, wait a minute. I've got to ask a question.
Yes.
Has anybody checked his birth certificate? That dude looks like 30 years old. Okay. And he's got great hair. Okay. I'm not saying he doesn't have great hair. It's absolutely beautiful. And he seems like a great, great guy, but I'm from Indiana. He's at Notre Dame, right? Or he's at Notre Dame. So, I'm not saying anything bad, but I'm like, I think they need to check into that.
Is he like 24 in baseball years?
Yeah, and dog years, something. I don't know. I was just like, because like I said, I had never, honestly, I'd never seen the guy before, you guys. I did some research and stuff, but it's not the same until you get there, and I'm just like, wow, look at that guy's hair.
And my TikTok algorithm has a lot of Sam Hartman on it, and I don't really know what that says about my algorithm.
Well, it's like I'm obsessed with Trevor Lawrence's hair. I've just always been obsessed with his hair, but I'll tell you that guy's a close second.
My biggest regret is that I didn't send you my phone number to pass along to Mr. Hartman if you were to get to talk to him. So,
well, just so you know, I never had that opportunity. There is this hallway. There's a hallway there, okay, and you have to have one of these to get through that hallway. Okay. So guess what? I got to go in the hallway. So I'm walking down the hallway and I did get the tight end class coming at me. And I'm like, and I just did it. I'm like, hey, a quick picture, and 2 of them hopped in the picture. I don't even know who they were. It didn't matter,
I don't, and I can't remember which one it is now because again, I am awful about college football. Wasn't there some tight end that had like really great hair also?
I'm not sure.
Amazing.
I don't know about that because you know what? Like
only footballs. Like, do you remember seeing that clip? Like he was doing one of the drills and he didn't let go of the one football and he thought it was over and then he realized it wasn't, so he just reached around one hand and like
I did not see that.
And,
I did not see that.
I wish
I'm not sure.
Somebody in the chat knows who I'm talking about. Please help us. Well, we're struggling here.
Most of the tight ends
caught each hand, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Each hand he had. Yeah.
Well, and most of the tight ends didn't even work out. They didn't. There was like 5. I mean, there weren't very many. So, but yeah. So this little hallway, if you want to sit there and wait, that's where the the coaches and the players and will come through. But I couldn't wait. I had stuff I had to do. I was losing my mind. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not waiting here. I gotta go.
Were you in the building when Xavier Worthy ran the 40?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely I was.
Oh my God. Tell us.
It was amazing. That was actually one of my things that I kind of wanted to talk about because it was electric. Okay. And I guess before at the combine, it's always kind of been, it's complete quiet. Nobody's supposed to say anything. But I guess last year, Anthony Richardson was really hyping up the crowd and, making everybody, and of course he ended up there. But, it was just kind of, all bets were off this year. Like, there people clapped and stuff. It wasn't over the top or anything. But for that, well, first of all, he false started the first time. And then he ran the 4.25. And I mean, he had already smoked it and everybody was just going crazy. And he knew it too. He had this big smile on his face. He didn't have to run again, but he wanted to make that record. So I'm sitting there and, he false starts on the second one too. And I'm like, oh, is it good? Is it bad? And then he took off and I think he knew it, and I think everybody knew that we were going to see something special. Yeah. And it came up as 4.22, which tied the record at that point. And it didn't matter though, because the place was going. It was pretty packed on Saturday too for that one. Friday was a little less, but I mean the place just went absolutely wild, and it was so much fun. And to see history made at something that I never did not have that on the bingo card that Wendi would be at the combine with this. Okay. So, to get to see that as well and get to come on here and talk about it and let people know my experience, it was great. It really was.
That's so like, where do you get to sit? Are you up in the stands? Is that where everybody?
Yeah. It's like the fans, the regular fans.
The regular not the
I was going to be one of those regular fans. I was going to go anyways. They're kind of in one of the end zones and they kind of start making their way around, and then we're a little bit further down, and so they have somebody up at the top there and you have to show your thing to be able to go sit over there. It's just another section, but you have the section to yourself, which is nice because you're charging your stuff and you're taking stuff out of your bag, you're eating snacks, you're doing whatever you need to do, and you've got a lot of room to do it. So
that's amazing. I mean, was there a player that like hasn't gotten a lot of hype or that wasn't really well known that you just saw and just thought just a lot of their performance?
Well, I guess I'd kind of like to start off by saying who I was really looking forward to seeing. Okay. Yes. And they weren't like people that actually showed up. So we've got Brock Bowers was my number one guy. Okay. That was who Faith was like, hey, out of anybody, she's a big Georgia fan. She's like, please, get talking to him, okay. He wasn't strike one. Okay. Yeah. Brock Bowers, strike one. Caleb Williams, strike two.
Yeah.
Strike two. Marvin Harrison, strike three.
Yeah.
Okay. So those were my 3 guys that I was really like looking forward to. So it's not that I had somebody that was like off the radar, but I completely fell in love with Joe Milton. And I don't care what anybody says. It's like some people, you're either way on this side or way on the other side of, and that's how it is with any player, I guess, but, from what I saw, I liked the way he carried himself. He had a cannon. I mean, yeah. So, maybe, he didn't have a great career at his college, but come on, he was just so good, and I was just super impressed. And I know there were a couple other people that were real fans of, like, JJ McCarthy, and he started off pretty weak. It was kind of like his balls he was throwing. I wasn't impressed. I mean, not that he's trying to impress me or anything, but I was just watching, and I'm just like, yeah, he's okay. He came back around, but just the attitude and everything about Joe Milton is what I really liked. He was my guy. He's my guy I'm picking.
Well, that's who we have.
Super high.
Yes.
So you guys like him? I know, and it's like everybody's just like, oh, he's not that great, and he didn't show. And I'm like, I don't care what anybody says. If you're asking me who I like, that's who I liked.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't great at Tennessee. He was fine. But he has all the physical tools, and when you throw an 80-yard bomb, turn your back, and do that's just awesome. All right,
he was a stud. He was a total stud.
I mean, he threw the hardest ball there too, right? Like, out of all the quarterbacks, I think his was the hardest. I think so. I did some research earlier today. Well, he was on our list of people to talk about later, Wendi. So
look at that.
See, look at you. See, we are going to talk risers and fallers. You know what's going on.
Lucky guess.
Yeah. Was there anybody who, like, did well? I guess you already kind of talked about, like, who didn't really live up to too much hype.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't there to write down the times that they're running and how high they're jump. I had a team that did that part. I was there more to kind of show as a fan. I mean, not fangirling, but just showing as a fan, like, hey, this is what goes on at these things. It's a lot of work. It's a big production. These people work really hard, and especially, I have a really funny story, you guys. It's a good one. So they have all these helmets out there. Okay. There's these big, huge helmets. All 32 teams are out there. So I'm by myself at the time because nobody had come yet. I got there a little bit early and I'm walking around. I wanted to take a picture with every one of these. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? I can't ask somebody, just walking around, hey, will you do this? So I got a couple ladies, unsuspecting ladies walking by. I'm like, hey, would you take a picture for me? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I got 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, this is going to take me all day, if I got to stand around waiting. So one of the guys that works there that was outside a fan person helping the fans, he comes up, he goes, do you need some help with something? And I'm like, oh man, you know what? I'm trying to take pictures with all of these helmets and I'm by myself. I go, I don't expect you, but maybe you could do just a couple of them real quick. I'm ready. Let's go. He's like, we're here for this. He goes, I will do every single one of these with you. So this guy went through all 32 helmets.
Oh my God.
And took my picture for me. Okay. So, okay. I'm not going to lie. I think he liked me. Okay. I think he had a little crush on me. Okay. Oh? So the funniest part was a couple of my friends showed up. Cindy Q, who was in the Battle of the Sexes and won the Battle of the Sexes this year. She drove in from Cincinnati. So we were meeting up and she saw me. So she grabbed my arm. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I'm so happy to see you. And so we went to her man, he went to take a picture of us. And here comes the guy that took all 32 pictures for me and jumps in the pictures with us. And like, I have to post all those because it's hilarious. It's like he belonged with us or something, and I was just like, okay, maybe that's a little too friendly. I don't know.
Listen, whatever it takes, buddy. You got the job done. You got all your photos.
I did. He did what I needed him to do. But, that's just how cool it was, especially for the fans. That whole fan area is super family friendly. So if there's anybody out there thinking about going to the combine, there's things for you to do rather than just sitting inside watching, 7 or 8 hours of, guys running and jumping and stuff. You can take your family outside. I mean, that's what I did most of the time was watching the guys running and jumping, but I did go out to the fan zone and they had all kinds of things for the kids to do, all kinds of like little combine, little courses and stuff. And, so it's very family friendly too.
Nice. Well, next year you can take Dynasty Deviant with you. He says he'll be
See
your
that?
so
He'll be
already
he can carry my bag and take all my pictures, huh?
exactly. See, and it's in writing, Wendi, so that's a
Oh
contract.
yeah, I agree. And you're an attorney, so
yeah.
Oh, we will hold Chris to it. Don't worry.
Absolutely.
I love Chris. He can do that anytime.
Chris is amazing. We miss you, Chris. Wendi, I just want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. I know you've had such a busy weekend and everything, so I really appreciate you coming and chatting with us tonight.
It's been great. And Tyler and I are now great friends. We talked about that earlier.
We are.
So yeah. I'm not going to go with the bestie just yet. You have to kind of earn that, but
All right.
I am so thrilled to. Please, I'm just so thrilled to be able to kind of come on and share from my perspective. And like I said, I'm not the kind of content person that is the stats and all that, but I did the best I could. I had a complete blast. I learned so much. If they asked me to go back next year, I'd like to go back earlier. I would actually spend the whole week, starting on Tuesday, because I miss the coaches are there, they're at the podiums and you get to go, at least maybe try and ask a question, and they would show them on the screens and stuff. But I did miss that. So there are some other things that I'd like to go back. I'd spend more time.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we can't wait to see you at the expo this year.
Yes. Yep, for sure.
Very excited to see you. Guys, and Wendi, I forgot to mention this earlier and I just didn't get it in there, but you host the Game Changers podcast every week.
Yes, Carla and I.
You and Carla, and I have gotten to be a guest on your show. You guys are
amazing.
And you are on Tuesdays, but you're moving to Wednesdays in April?
We are, yes, thank you. We're going to move to Wednesdays, and we'll be on an hour earlier than what we are now, so it'll be 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central.
Amazing. So guys, make sure that you are already following Wendi. I'm sure you are, but if you're not, you can find her at Wendi Earley, and that is on Twitter. Go make sure you're following Game Changers podcast. Wendi, thank you again so much for coming to hang out with us. This has been
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
It was a pleasure.
Oh man, I love Wendi so much. She's so much fun.
She's great. Love her.
Well, so we already talked about Joe Milton from the Combine, but I want to talk a couple just real quick about some risers, fallers from the Combine, just some other news there. I know we did talk about Xavier Worthy, but with that fastest 40, Tyler, do you think that puts him up any higher on anybody's rankings?
I frankly, no, I don't think so. I mean, you watch his film, you already know he's fast. Mm-hmm. It's crazy impressive that he's that fast.
Yeah.
If this were a weaker wide receiver class, I might say yes, but there are so many good players in this wide receiver class. I just don't think a single 40 time is going to vault you up there, especially when you're 170 pounds.
Yeah. Guys, so right now Xavier Worthy is ranked as the number 6 wide receiver overall on the Dynasty, on the rookie rankings on our Fantasy and Frames website, guys. You can go find those online on our website. Those are all free. Jorge, Drew, Chris, Rhett, they've all got their rankings up there, so you can take a look at them and for all the players. But yeah, I don't really know how much if you're already ranked at 6, you can't really outdo Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. Those guys are probably staying where they are.
Probably.
I really liked Rome Odunze's just overall answers and interviews and everything at the Combine. I just thought he had a really great personality. That has nothing to do with football.
But he crushed all the athletic testing too. Yeah. So he's checked every single box.
Yeah.
If he goes above Neighbors or even Harrison Jr., I'll be surprised, but I'll be, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I can see that. He was awesome at Washington. He's killed the entire draft process so far, and yeah, he can do no wrong at this point.
No, he seems I really wouldn't. And I haven't done a ton of research into that. Guys, next week we're going to be talking more about the wide receivers in this group. But yeah, those top guys, I really wouldn't have any issue with 1, 2, 3, any way you want to put them. But all right, couple other things just real quick. Are you put off at all by Caleb Williams' kind of like unorthodox shenanigans?
I mean, I think he just seems like a weird dude, frankly.
Weird vibe.
But you know what? Like, give me a weirdly confident guy to lead my team and be the quarterback. Like, as long as he's not a dick and his teammates don't dislike him, like, let him do his thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for these guys being quirky and weird and highly competitive. Like, they're on a different level than us. They are.
Yeah.
They're the best in the world at their craft. Like, you gotta be wired differently to be able to do that. So no, it doesn't really bother me at all.
Do you think now, like, I don't think from fantasy perspective, I think everybody's going to take him, as one of your top guys. But like, as far as NFL wise goes, do you think that's rubbed any teams the wrong way that might make him, or do you think, the Bears don't care, probably the Commanders probably don't care, right?
Yeah, I don't think his target audience cares.
No.
Like you said, the Bears, the Commanders, I guess the Patriots. God, I hope he doesn't go to the Patriots. That would suck.
That honestly, I guess now that Belichick's not there, I was going to say that might have been the one place where that kind of attitude might be taken the wrong way. But I don't know how they'll be now that Belichick's not there. But
yeah, we don't know a lot about Gerard Mayo as a coach. Hell, Bill Belichick was too egotistical to make the freaking guy his defensive coordinator for 5 years. Like, we don't know anything about Gerard Mayo. Usually coordinators at least have to address the media at some point, and you see them on camera and you get a bit of a feel for them. But he wasn't a defensive coordinator, so we never saw him. All we know is that he was a badass linebacker. Like, that's all we know about Gerard Mayo.
Mr. Skipper says that if Caleb Williams goes to the Patriots, he's going to throw up.
We don't want Mr. Scamper throwing up.
No, we can't. We cannot have that. I think, we've kind of, talked a lot about that. And I know a lot of our other, shows have talked about it too. So I don't want to spend too much time on, any of the other guys. And like I said, we've covered a lot of that. But what I do want to talk about is kind of breaking news, I guess, a couple days. But Russ just getting absolutely kicked to the curb by Denver. Like, I don't think it's a surprise. We all knew that was going to happen, right?
Yeah, we all knew it was going to happen. Sean Payton is, honestly, even if, I think they could have made do with Russ, but this was as much of a statement as, hey, Russ, I don't think you can take us to where we want to be, as much as it's Sean Payton saying, this is my team, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care what George Payton did. I'm the real Payton in this house.
Where does Denver, where are they picking in the draft?
I think, I don't know. I will tell you in a short time, Stacey.
Let's see if anybody in the chat knows before we can find it.
12th.
12th, yes.
Yes.
So all right.
They're out of range of, they might even be out of range of JJ McCarthy. I don't quite buy JJ McCarthy is going that high. Mm-hmm. Because there's always a dude. There's always a quarterback in this draft talk that, he could go first round.
Levis last year.
Yeah, but Levis still went early second. But the poster child for me is Davis Webb from 6 years ago. Davis Webb from Cal could go in the first round. He went at pick 130 to the Giants or something and was useless for his entire career. There's always that one guy. Yeah, everyone is just driving up boards just because they're a quarterback.
Oh my goodness! Do you have any particular landing spots where you'd like to see Russ go?
So there's a few possibilities. There's I guess the Patriots. I think that would be kind of gross.
I agree.
The Raiders make a lot of sense to me.
Ooh,
being in the division, and they don't really have a quarterback. They're kind of out of range of the top three guys. So the Raiders make sense to me. I don't think he's a fit for Pittsburgh personally.
Okay.
Just personality-wise, I don't think Mike Tomlin would want him. I don't think that team would want him. I think that city would hate him, visceral hate. from what I know of Steelers fans. So I think Raiders are a real possibility.
Angie is the Raiders.
Ooh, all right. But Angie and I are on the same page there. I can dig it. I don't think the Vikings are a true possibility. I mean, when you're asking quarterback, the Falcons are the easy pick for everybody, but
I still like Fields. I know I've heard a bunch of Kirk Cousins rumors too, to the Falcons, but I don't know. I think I would just rather see Fields on that team.
So, all right. I have an unorthodox one for you. The Panthers.
What are they going to do with little Bryce Young?
They're going to let the little guy sit behind the other little guy.
There's no way.
Let
There's
him
no
learn
way
for a little while.
There's no way.
That would be good for Bryce Young.
Agreed. It probably would be, but I don't think their owner would agree to that. I think he's too involved.
I think their owner needs to lay down in traffic.
Listen, I don't disagree with you there. I think is he taken over as the worst owner after Stern left? Right? Was his last name Stern? Yeah.
David Stern, the old NBA commissioner?
No. Okay, maybe I'm confused. Who was the Commanders guy?
It's Snyder.
God, Stern. I don't know, man. Whatever his name was, Snyder. See, I've already forgotten. He's already out of our minds. Snyder, thank you.
Yes, he has officially taken over as worst owner.
He's got the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Raiders makes the most sense for us. My unorthodox bit is the Panthers.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's fun. That's a fun conversation. I like it.
Yeah, and the one thing that I wanted to do before this podcast that I did not get a chance to do is completely summarize the Russell Wilson wet bandits.
Yeah, first Daniel's term from the wet bandits. Absolutely. Oh man, it's been a long day, guys.
It has. I wanted to completely summarize the Russ Wilson trade and determine everything that it has turned into. I will have that ready for next week, so we can review that quickly, and we can describe exactly why the Russell Wilson trade was the worst trade and the worst contract in the history of the NFL so far.
In the history, okay. Guys, tune in for that next week. All right, so I wanted to wrap up really quickly. We've got a few minutes before we head out, and our Fourth and Frames friends come on in at 9 o'clock. So we don't have any trade updates for you from our Dynasty team, but Tyler and I did kind of want to go through our roster, look at some other teams' rosters, and see if there's anything that we can tweak, any trades that might be available out there that we can kind of make happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the roster up here on the screen real quick. And it would have been great if I had had this set up before I started talking about it, but that's probably too much to ask. There we go. Okay. So now our team, let me scroll down for those that are listening. All right, here's our team. We are the first round pick QB graveyard. We may or may not come up with a different name before the season starts. Now, Tyler, you said that somebody thought our team was the worst in the division.
No. I was talking about our startup.
Oh, on our startup. Okay.
Yes, we can say that for next week. We'll go through this one this week, and we kind of, since our startup is done, we can review our whole draft, kind of our thinking with that, and figure out why Dynasty Nerds thinks that we have the worst team in the league.
Well, I can't wait for that. All right, so here's our team, guys. Just kind of a little review. We have got, for this upcoming draft that starts in May, we've got 3 second-round picks that we can kind of play around with, and then this is a 10-round draft because it includes free agents as well. And we've got our picks for the rest of the rounds. This is a tight end premium. Right now, we are a little weak at tight end. We've got Juwan Johnson, Tyler Higbee. If you remember, we did have Kyle Pitts, and then we traded him for Justin Jefferson and Jaden Reed, and then along with our first round pick. But that's what I was kind of looking at, and this is also super flex, guys. So our quarterbacks are weak, except for Jalen Hurts. Everybody else.
Who are our quarterbacks?
Oof. Derek Carr, Jimmy G, Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, and Kenny Pickett. So woof. except for Jalen Hurts and sweet Jimmy Garoppolo, whose prettiness is not going to help us get points.
See, I'm not as low on this quarterback squad as
Are
everyone seems to be.
Derek Carr? Are you buying into Derek Carr being our second QB? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah. Yeah, frankly. Listen,
I fell into this trap last year.
Listen, there is no one overtaking Derek Carr as the Saints starter. If I can have the QB 19 as my QB2, whatever. Because you know what? I have the QB1.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. But what about our tight ends, though? Like, do you feel like there's potentially – I mean, we got to do something because Tyler Higbee's – was it an ACL he tore, right?
Yeah, Tyler Higbee's non-existent.
He's not going to be playing for the majority of the season, I don't think. So
no. And we have Juwan Johnson also, who's kind of the Saints starter, but not really. Like the best tight end on the Saints is probably Foster Moreau. The most fantasy productive tight end on the Saints is probably Taysom Hill, and Juwan Johnson is just kind of a castaway.
So, I mean, I think we need – this is especially with this being a tight end premium. I think we've got to shore up tight end. So I was taking a look earlier at who has my fave. Sam Laporta. Where are you, Sam? There we go. Well, maybe, but take a look. So this team has Mayer, Laporta, Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst, Zach Ertz, which yikes. There. Didn't Hayden Hurst just get let go by the Panthers also?
Probably.
I think he did.
I don't know, but probably he deserves it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that there's like a play to be made for Sam Laporta? I mean, his receivers are not great, and we have pretty good receivers. I mean,
we do, but I'm usually not in the business of acquiring a player at his peak value.
Okay.
Like
that would be Sam Laporta at his peak value.
There is no time that Sam Laporta is going to be more valuable than he is right now.
Fair.
He's the tight end one in Dynasty. And you know what? Like, I'm not entirely convinced he's going to repeat what he did this year. Jameson Williams is going to come back. I think Detroit is going to address their pass catchers somehow. So, me personally, if I were looking at that roster that you just showed, can you scroll back up to it, Stacey?
Yeah. And sorry, I'm trying to scroll with it and not on the actual page that it's on the other thing. All right.
So the roster that you want to target has Michael Mayer, Sam Laporta, Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst, Zach Ertz. I would target Mark Andrews there, or I would target for nothing Michael Mayer.
Ooh, I like that. I think Michael Mayer will have a better year than he did this past year, for sure.
I think he will improve. I don't know if he's going to be a viable fantasy starter for the entire season, but if I can get a guy for a third-round pick and have that potential, then I'm happy with that. Looking above them, Trey McBride, Greg Dulcich, Mike Gesicki. That guy has the 101 and the 1.5. He might be feeling froggy to get rid of Trey McBride and use the 1.5 on Brock Bowers. That could be a target for me.
He's got like half the draft picks. Holy guacamole here.
1-1, 1-5, 2-1, 2-5, 2-10, 2-12, 3-1, 3-10. Wow.
2 fourth-rounder. Wow. Holy cow. Well, I don't think he needs any more draft picks. So.
No, and we don't have any to give. So.
Well, we have some second rounders we could potentially.
Yeah, but I think players should be valuing their second round draft picks this year, largely because the wide receiver class is so good, and not really for the reason you think. You could potentially have 4 first round quarterbacks this year with JJ McCarthy. People are talking about Michael Penix, Bo Nix. I don't think they'll go in the first round, but as soon as you are drafted in the first round as a quarterback, you are immediately a first-round pick in rookie drafts and Superflex League. So that's 4 guys right there. You have the 3 top wide receivers, and then you probably have 4, 5, 6 guys that can fill out the first round. This class for a lot of fantasy football players is, oh, yeah, it's not good on running back. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think there are 5, 6, 7 running backs that are going to be really productive in this class. Are they going to be workhorses? No. Are they going to be Saquon Barkley's, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry's? No, they're not going to be. That's okay. They don't need to be. Yeah. When you get out of the top 4 or 5 running backs in fantasy, they're all committee backs. Mm-hmm. And I think you could have 4 or 5 1As in this class that are going to fall to the second round simply because they're drafted in the third and they're not as flashy as the wide receivers and Brock Bowers and these first round quarterbacks. So I'm valuing these second round picks at quite an inflated value personally.
Okay. Well, I mean, here's another team that's got they're kind of stacked at tight end. How do you feel about Luke Musgrave?
Stacked might be strong. The team that we're looking at is Pat Freiermuth, David Njoku, and Luke Musgrave.
Well, what I'm saying, in comparison to some of the other teams, what their combos are, this is one of the better ones that I saw. At least they looked like they could get rid of one of these guys and not be as
And frankly, they need to, because their wide receivers are horrendous and their running backs are fine.
Their running backs are fine. And look, we have Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, Justin Jefferson, Jaden Reed. I mean, and we can only start 2 here. This is a two quarterback league, 2 flex league, and a tight end premium. So
how many wide receivers can we start?
2.
2 wide receivers, 2 flexes?
2 receivers, 2 flexes, 2 running backs.
And then a super flex.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that makes it a little more realistic for us, where we could use one of our guys, such as I would personally use DJ Moore as trade bait first.
Okay.
But that could be a potential target for us as well. You want to, the biggest thing you want to do when trading is be honest with yourself about your team. That's the hardest thing to do as a dynasty player, is really step back and take a good look at the roster that you have and self-scout.
Yeah.
Our running backs are not good.
No, our running back room is rough, to say the least.
Running backs are Deuce Vaughn, Alexander Madison, who just got kicked to the curb.
I did.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, if we're lucky, he's going to be a 1B somewhere. Jeff Wilson, he's dead.
He still has a team. Well, he still has a team, at least.
Sure, he still has a team, at least. But he's
got a couple vulture touchdowns. But, not consistent play now.
Yes. Dalvin Cook, useless. Yes. Alvin Kamara could be fine. I think the Saints might target a running back. And Joe Mixon,
who's about to get cut too, apparently.
Is he?
I swear I saw that today. I saw he was going to get cut, and then they weren't bringing Tyler Boyd back. So
they can't bring Tyler Boyd back. It would be unreasonable for them to do that.
That's last year. They weren't going to bring him.
And Joe Mixon should be cut, frankly. I don't want to get too much into the minutia of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon took a pay cut last year because he hasn't lived up to his contract. I'm sorry, just because he's finished as a top 10 fantasy running back does not mean he's a good player. And it doesn't even mean he's a good fantasy asset. He has 3 or 4 good games a year, and then he clogs your starting lineup. So Joe Mixon, you know what? We should trade Joe Mixon right now.
Ooh, okay.
Let's find some opportunities, and we can make some trade offers next week. Let's do some research, make some trade offers next week when we're on the show.
All right, so that's going to be our homework for this week. Coming up with some trade offers that make sense for our team. Tyler, I think we should probably get on out of here so the Fourth and Frames guys can jump on in. Receivers next week, more Dynasty talk next week. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.